What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. And today I want to talk about why you're losing cubes to Marvel Snap's matchmaking system, and maybe how you can mitigate that a little bit. And the first thing to understand is, how does the Marvel Snap matchmaking system work? And now a lot of it we can kind of scrape from anecdotal evidence and experience in just playing the game, and also some of the stuff that we have been given from the team and information, and a lot of other stuff that traditionally how these games work. So some of the criteria that we can assume does work, and something I joked about on Twitter recently, but the first one is your collection level. If you're in collection level pool 1, series 1, you're not going to be playing against people that have a full collection. Right, so there is going to be some kind of split in between finding you an opponent that has a similar collection level to you. Next up, we have, what is your rank? If you are rank 70 after being infinite last season, it's pretty likely that you could be playing against people that are infinite already this season, and you can tell that from the card back, usually. So that probably means that maybe there's a maximum of 30. But once you're infinite, and like I see people posting on Twitter that they're infinite rank 200 or something ridiculous, there really can't be that many people in it. So my hunch is, the higher your rank number, the greater distance it could travel in how big your matchmaking could be. Or it could just be everyone in infinite counts as one block, and then everyone under infinite is like plus or minus 30, which wouldn't be so ridiculous. Next up, how many times have you played against any of these available opponents? Marvel Snap really enjoys putting you up against the same person that just beat the cubes out of you. I've looked at my match history. I went through the tracker and had quite a look at it. The maximum number of times I played against one opponent is 4 consecutive times. I've played against the same opponent on different days many times. And 2 feels kind of not irregular, right? 3 seems out of pocket, and 4 has only ever happened to me once. So if there's a list of 5 people that are available to battle you, right, and you've already played against one of them, it's unlikely it's going to hit that same person again. But it might just be a coin flip in the same way. They might not actually have a system. Like, it might just be true random, in which case true random says that you could flip a coin 10 times and get heads every single time. Like, it's statistically possible. It could happen to you. And maybe that's why I've played against one person 4 times in a row. And then the last thing is, have you waited more than 10 seconds? The number one reason why bots are introduced to the game is to keep the queue times short, so that the total length of between you pressing play and you completing a game is short. So you're not stuck waiting for 5 minutes for a game to start, right? To use a comparison of League of Legends, like I often do, you have a 5-minute queue timer and then you play a 30-minute game. The percentage isn't really a big deal, right? If you have a 5-minute queue timer to play a 2-minute game like Marvel Snap, you're never going to play the game. This is going to feel bad. So they try and keep the queue as small as possible, and I honestly don't think I've waited longer than 15 seconds. So I think at that point, the game goes, you don't have an opponent, here's a bot. And the way that it chooses a bot is probably unique to your win streak, where you're at on the ladder, all this kind of stuff. What's your collection level? And so these are all things that are important to think about while you are queuing up into a game. Now, I had a previous video where I talked about some Marvel Snap conspiracy theories, and this is kind of a follow-up from that. But how can we use this information to our advantage? Well, that's pretty easy. The first one is, and this is another League of Legends thing, where if you just get wrecked by someone, or you had someone horrible on your team, and you lost really badly, don't instantly requeue, because there's a small chance that that person also hit instantly requeue, and you could get into the same game together. Same goes for Marvel Snap, right? If you know that the game has a penchant for making you verse the same person and lose 8 cubes to them several games in a row, once you've had a loss to someone that's playing a deck that you think beats yours, just wait a couple of seconds before hitting that requeue button. If you wait 10 seconds, it's impossible for you to play the same person, because if they instantly requeue, then they will have encountered at least a bot before they could play against you. Unless if the person you're playing against is the bot. And we'll get to that. Because one of the other things that I was complaining about in the other video was that I felt like I was playing against a larger selection of bots because of what time of day I was hitting that play button. And because I was playing at the time between 3 and 6 a.m. a lot, doing like my dailies just after the reset, one of the resets happens for me at 6 a.m. and playing against the same generic username. It's the name is a character from the Marvel universe. It's correctly capitalized. The profile picture avatar matches the character name, all this kind of stuff. Like I've played against Dr. Doom 6 times today, like, and they would just have the thing that beat my deck. And it would get really, really frustrating. And I realized that the problem was because there isn't very many users in my region to start with, and there isn't very many users active at that time, the difficulty in getting across that 10-second gap and actually finding a user meant that I would just encounter bots like, way more often than needed to be, which kind of sucks. So that means that if you are in your grind to infinite, you're really caring about your cube gain, then you should be trying to play in peak times for your region so that you have less of a chance of encountering a cheating bot as you get closer to 100. After you've hit 100, cubes really stop mattering unless if you're trying to be ranked number 1, which as I understand it is a really uncommon sentiment. Then you are less incentivized to just, narrow down exactly when you're going to be playing the game. Those are two really, really big ones. Trying to avoid playing against bots by when you are playing the game, and trying to play against not the same opponent consecutive. These are things that I've started to do, and it has made a big difference. And then I've heard people, maybe I'll dispel a rumor for you here, I've heard people complain that if they change decks, they'll get better matchmaking. I think that for games like Magic Arena, where Magic Arena tracks the rarity stack of the cards that you put into your deck. For example, I play a lot of Historic Brawl. I think Historic Brawl is a fun format, and I have 2 different decks that I play. One of them is a 5-color deck where basically every card in the deck is a rare, and then I have a more regular, normal type deck, right? And when I play the 5-color deck, I almost exclusively play against very, very similar 5-color things. Often the same commander, often the same kind of deck composition, often the same kind of power level. And I think that Arena has an inherent thing where it's like, look, if this person has 90 rares in their 100-card deck, I'm not going to pit you up against someone who has got 2 or 3, because that is an easy inherent way of tracking a power level of something. But because Marvel Snap has a pool system, the pool system checks your account, it doesn't check your deck. Your account is in pool 3, so if you're playing all pool 1 cards, you're going to be playing against pool 3 cards. So I think changing your deck isn't actually going to change what kind of opponents you're going to be playing against. And I think that's kind of all I've got in my notes. What do you think about the matchmaking system? Do you have some of the same complaints about it as me, where I can't play at 4 AM without playing against Dr. Doom 6 times in a row? What do you feel like is going your way these days? I really do like hearing tips from the community about what's going on, so that I can have an easier climb to infinite in my own time, and hear what you guys are dealing with, so I can maybe, if that's something I know an answer to, I can help you with. But I do actually make a lot of other Marvel Snap content. I put them up here so that you can have a look. You can click on these little boxes and I'll take you to some of the other stuff that I've made. I've got a whole playlist of different ones that have just got advice, tech, all this kind of stuff. And then YouTube will also pick a video that you might like. But also you could just click the subscribe button, and then when I post new cool stuff, you could also see that. Because I do things other than play Marvel Snap. I make games too, and they're alright. You could play them.